Hello, and welcome to the DM's Book Club, a weekly book club podcast where we talk about some Dungeons and Dragons and discuss how we might include them in our role-playing campaigns. Look at us, like little composers there, both of us at the same time, doing like a little bits of backs and forths. My name is Fiona, and with me, as always, on my little trip, a little vacation to Thay, I have my erstwhile host, Hamilton. Hello, Hamilton. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. Back in Thay. We can't seem to escape.
I've been trying to get out on the roads. I can't leave, you know.
No one's letting us leave. But we've been on a bit of a tour, haven't we? We've been traveling around, and we found some interesting little spots to go have a look at.
Yeah.
This week, very much a travel book club. This one, it feels. Yeah. But
exactly.
How have you been? So we forget to do that. How have you been? Been all right?
Yeah, I just, life ticks on, and I was talking to your podcast about editing stuff, which is like super boring for all our listeners out there. But doing all right. It's getting warmer here where I am.
Nice. Yeah.
But I think I might have told you last time. Like the weather changes, like yesterday or the day before. Massive thunderstorm in the morning, woken up to lightning, and then literally 2 hours later, gorgeous sunshine, and the heat is back up. And you're like,
you should be used to that in the UK, I guess, as well. Like we have that.
I'm just there going like, do I need shorts? Do I need,
exactly.
I don't know, because I'm trying to walk in a bit more. So when I go out, I'm like, am I going to die? Am I going to be overheating?
Or am I going to breathing? Yeah.
No, I'm going to be drowned in water. Yeah.
It was raining. It was raining. Then it was cold. I was freezing when I came back home, and now. When I went swimming, and then it came out, and I'm boiling. I was like, oh, am I boiling?
Can't win.
I've been in the heat, and then it's just boiling outside.
Climate change is what I say. But also, every time me and Hamilton have a call, Hamilton does look like he's being raptured because there's this gorgeous sunshine behind him, and I'm so good, like he's gone. Oh, yeah, exactly. So today, friends, we're back again in Thay. As we said, we cannot leave. And we're looking at Chapter 3, which is Points of Interest. Now, this chapter, compared to the last two, it's a bit more like, I don't know, we'll put everything in here that is kind of related to it. So we're actually only going to focus on a little bit of it. This is going to be one of two parts, essentially. And the majority of this is talking about the different tharches, so the different little sort of regions or counties that make up Thay in total. And we thought, why don't we look at the first 5 that is sort of presented to us in this book before going on to the final. I think there's 11 in total, so I think another 6 after that, so that'll be next time.
We are not, just to let everyone know, so there's a bit at the beginning which talks about like Red Wizard like fortresses, as well as like how people furnish their homes as well, and the homes that people live in, as well as the serpent statues. But there's not a lot much to say in, apart from just to summary it, that the Red Wizards are pretty paranoid, and therefore they build very good dungeons for people to go, things to go for. They've got like some cool ideas, like
some cool ideas of like, it almost feels like spirals, like something like if you go through several defenses and then they just drop undead servants on you, and it kind of doesn't matter. I will say, like, all this sort of stuff about the serpent statues, all that stuff, it's like, oh, these are really interesting. Why isn't this in chapter 1, which is People of Thay? Why is it hit? Okay,
I know,
I don't know.
Rando.
It feels a little bit random. So then, because then you go, okay, what's next? And then you have all these 11 tharches, and then on top of that, you have this Shemelsra's tour, which when I was reading it through the first time, I was like, this is a lot of information. And so that's the other thing to say, is that we're not going to necessarily look at Shemelsra's tour. Essentially, that is like their version of I've completely forgotten his name. What's he called? No, the guy that does the premiere.
Oh, Elminster.
It's like Elminster, but
Volo.
The guy that Volo, there you go. I was just going like the primer from Waterdeep that we always talk about.
Yeah.
So it's their version of Volo doing a tour, and basically Shemelsra's doing like, these are in these particular cities. Here's some things you need to know, and basically it's a lot of taverns you should visit and ones that you definitely should not visit. So we're not going to necessarily look at those as well. I mean, it's nice. I enjoyed it.
It's just quite dense.
It's very dense,
interesting,
and. It's one of those things where you think, with the structure of this as well, you think maybe this could be split up into, because I was like, where's this city? Oh, it's this Tharch, which I read 3 pages ago. So it's like, you feel like it should have been cut up a little bit and then put into the separate thing so that we could talk about it completely.
Well, that's what I liked about some of the other books we've looked at, where it's like, here's the area, but then this is dense text, and now we're going to give you a little bit of something like some mysteries and stuff like that, and now we're going to talk to you about some people that live there, and then we're going to move on. And like, and even, travel book club that we did for the planes, like particularly the quasi-elemental planes and stuff like that, but even when they got to places, there was like, you keep it to a couple of like one set of paragraphs, and then and then onto a little bit of something else before your next paragraph. Like I've got I was, just because I'm doing my one at the moment, like I feel like I'm trying to find that middle ground between Mortborg, which is like there's a paragraph for a whole continent, you know, but like, well, for like a whole like country, and then this one which is like text. You know, there's a nice medium ground, which I think are those Planescape books. I think are my favorite balancing act of all of that stuff.
I think it's interesting because obviously we've read now a lot of like travels to, you know, like we've done our own sort of version about, and so we know what we like, and it must be very interesting for you to then be like, all right, how do I put that in my own works? You know, because obviously I'm just there going like, I prefer it like this, and this, and you're probably there going like, oh shoot, no.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I was asking people because I've got classes that very much are like. There are some that there is 3 out of the 10 which are very not related to particular areas. They're just sort of generic for everyone, for every area. But then there's, for the other 7, they're sort of intrinsically linked 1 or 2 to each other location. And therefore, it means that like you get... I was kind of asking people like, how would you like this to be laid out? Would you like it so that like the region then has those classes there? Or would you rather the classes were just like, here's all the classes in one go, here's all this, and people were like, well, for ease of use, it's the classes separated from the places. But
100%.
But then in my mind, for like the job that I think from a GM's point of view, particularly, and also just like from a readability point of view, it's actually quite nice to be like, well, here's all the lore of these people, and then here is the classes that go with this place, because that kind of makes sense, sort of like chronologically, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I wonder, again, this isn't just me thinking out the box, me thinking in general in terms of accessibility. So, because that idea of keeping them all separate because you just need a quick reference, absolutely. But maybe, not that you should do this, Hamilton, before I give you more work to do, but like, what if you did 2 versions of it and then people could just pick whichever one they want? But that's way too much work. Well, I don't know which one.
Yeah, no, if I had the money to do it. But I think if I had, to be honest, the thing is, like, looking at it now, if I re-looked at this, I think I would go player's guide and then GM's guide, I think is kind of like what you'd want. But then even in that, that's how I'm trying to think of it now, is that, okay, fine, like the characters get a little bit of intro text and then the classes sort of thing. 100%. And then the other bits, the locations, then get the classes as a little bit of text as well. And you just got to double up on flavour, I guess.
For sure,
but anyway,
for sure.
Enough about me. We'll go on
to this. So what we're going to look at today is the first 5 Tharches in alphabetical order, which is, and what's great is that they do have pronunciation guides. Am I going to say them right? Absolutely not. But the ones we're going to look at today are Al-Leor, which is the Doctor Thay, Del-Humid, which is the Spirit of Thay, El-Tabar, which is the Wealth of Thay, Goros, which is the Wilderness of Thay, and then finally La Pendra, which is the Pulse of Thay. Yeah, so those gives you sort of, again, I quite like how in this particular bit, obviously they say like, you get a breakdown of like, population, what's the sort of big religions there, and then a bit of text about it, which is probably what we're going to focus on a lot. And then is it called Tharchions? The person that is sort of the...
Well, Tharchions, I don't know which way you
sort of the ruler of this particular region. And what's interesting, and I think it's something that I've always said to you, is that I quite like it when we do get a little bit of who this person is, who's ruling, and then it has a little bit of role-playing tips for each of these people. I will say, each of these people do blend into one for me, because I have them all under the label of evil. But I will say some of their descriptions and some of their flaws, because obviously it breaks down into like, bonds, personality, flaws, all that sort of thing, are quite interesting. And I was like, I would definitely use that. And sometimes it's these flaws, they're not really reflected in the actual text. Like, I don't know which one it is, but I just remember one that goes, my flaw is I like delicious, expensive cheeses. And I'm like, well, I also like that as a flaw, but where's that in any of your descriptions? That's my personality.
There's a bit of like, this one doesn't like Szass Tam, this one does like Szass Tam. And it's like, and they kind of, you're right, you get a bit more in the actual role-playing bit where it says bond, flaw, ideal, and quote than you actually do in the text, which is not as like dense, for want of a better term. So
I guess they're trying to think of things that are quick, as you were saying, like how much flavour can we put in? They might not be interesting, but I was just like, you've said all I need to know about this person within the personality, bond, flaw stuff. Yeah. Other than sometimes they have some really interesting descriptions. Again, I can't remember which one it is off the top of my head, but it's one that's like, people would never say it to their face, but they look like a big fat toad that's been in the sun too long. And I'm just like, well, that instantly I see who that person is. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's true.
So, shall we just start at the top, or is there anything that you want to just pick up from the beginning, or?
Well, as you said, like so. I mean, the key thing about Alaor, sorry, is that it's an island. It's a pair of islands that sit within the Aloran Sea. What's the sea?
The Alor, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
the Alley, I think it's the Alley, yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of connects into this larger central inner sea of the Sea of Fallen Stars, which is sort of like an inlet sea of Faerun, which then links up to the Moon Sea and then down like the rivers into eventually like onto to the Sword Coast and Am and stuff like that. But it's predominantly this sort of massive inner sea, which has the Pirate Isles, connects up to Cormyr and Mulholland down below.
Yes.
So because of that, as it said, it's the docks of Thay. This is the military, the naval might of Thay is sort of positioned here. And that's kind of really all that happens. It kind of just says that there's sort of two main ports. There's Alaran, or Aloran, which is the sort of naval base, and then there's a second one, which is Osjet or Orheret.
Yes, that's a more neutral ground for that one. Yes, absolutely.
And it's kind of, that's where you'd have people that are like, and it says it like allows smugglers and dealers in poison contraband, and it's kind of known, and it kind of says, well, it kind of allows this, and this happens a couple of times throughout this book section of like, there's a bit of an allowed relaxation of the over the top sort of as much as spies are always there, but as of like rule of law in certain areas to just allow the function of society to occur in certain areas to just let people do a bit of smuggling because they need to get the stuff that they need to get to make Thay continue. Or we'll come on to another one later, which is very much like we need to allow this so that people can feel a little bit like less controlled, which is kind of strange. But I found it's pretty, I mean, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to it, but to me, there wasn't a lot more to it than that.
Yeah,
really.
So as you said, it's sort of these two islands, like so the Alaran, which is where you said that's that shipyard naval base sort of thing, with this other Orjet trade, the neutral ground one. And then they've got this smaller place, a smaller island, Raildreth, which is basically what I imagine it to be like, where the rich people go and look, have their boats and they look out and stuff like that. So I thought that was interesting that you have like the working like
Myrtle Beach for an American riff.
100% like Myrtle Beach. I'm thinking of any places like St. Catherine's Docks in London where you have all these beautiful flats and then these gorgeous yachts that don't go anywhere.
No, they're just always there.
They're always there. They never leave. Whereas everything else has is a more purpose to it.
Lake Como. That kind of thing.
So, yeah, I thought it was, again, is that sort of thing where, yes, you would have docks and stuff like that. But again, I'm just trying to think about myself. Have I ever run adventures that are predominantly around docks or naval bases? And I can imagine, like, coming in, getting rid of goods, that sort of thing. But I was like, what else could you do? Naval bases could be quite interesting. And certainly the Tharchion for this is, again, I will say, whilst we have pronunciation guides for the Tharchers, don't have them for the Tharchions. So best of luck to me. But I'm just going to go by their last names. But Hal Ramon, I've got my notes down as a cold, calculating arranger of accidents in quotation marks. He's what I imagine is like the godfather of insurance, and like will definitely like. He's very paranoid, doesn't like outsiders, but maintains this sort of network of loyal spies and informants, which makes sense because obviously you've got all these trade ships coming in, the naval bases, etc. And of course, with this sort of like, I think you mentioned it, Mulholland, other country down there, and of course there's this whole war that happened previously. So of course they're sort of trying to get any information on their rivals. But yeah, his goal is always to arrange accidents for naval ships of rival realms. So Thay will eventually covertly control the West Gate, and just slowly but surely, like, these accidents keep happening. I wonder what's happening, and just keeping that control over the sea itself. Thin, tall, balding was also the other description I have for him.
I kind of like the fact that there's a little thing about him not liking red wizards. He's a Szass Tam loyalist, but he regards red wizards as arrogant incompetents who weaken and mar Thay with their personal ambitions and intrigues, which is
quite good, isn't it?
It's a good little piece of tidbit. You can feel that sort of, you can have that sort of vitriol come out in their conversation. But yeah, it's an interesting little bit of space, and this nice little piece of artwork there. And the West Gate, to let people know, is like, it's, as I said, like this inner sea that has all these little tributaries that go out, and there's the sort of Great Ice Sea and the Western Sea that obviously goes out, and I assume goes round in a circle to the Sword Coast. So it'd be potentially the quickest way to the Sword Coast if it is by a circle. I assume it's a sphere.
Yes, must be.
Yeah.
Question mark again. You
Question
tell
mark?
we don't know much about the Forgotten Realms.
Well, I mean, I played Spelljammer and it kind of says it is, but like I've never seen someone go, yeah, it's definitely a sphere and it definitely goes round, like the Earth does. In case people are questioning that theory.
Could you imagine this whole time if the Forgotten Realms was flat, like proper Discworld-esque, and we're like, oh
Yeah.
no.
Oh, maybe.
I will say again, just going to that roleplay section at the bottom there. Yeah, the floor is. I smiled once. I did not like it. I will not do it again. And I again, what a cool line, but I don't know how that's a flaw, if you know what I mean. Like, I guess it doesn't enjoy themselves or refuses to let them enjoy things. Are very strict. I guess that's the only thing I'd say. But I like the line. Don't get me wrong. It's like I smiled once and I did not like it. I don't know. It's like, oh, this is a cool line, and not gone like, I don't know. They don't enjoy themselves. Maybe it would have been a better one. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree. But it's a nice line. I'll take it. I'll take a nice line over something boring, I guess. Then you get Delhumide. Delhumide?
I was going to say Delhumide.
Oh, sorry.
Delhumide. Like, I'm thinking it's humid with Del at the front. That's what I was thinking.
Delhumide, yeah.
The spirit of Thay, yeah.
Yeah. I like this. It's kind of like I played the Elder Scrolls Oblivion remake yesterday very briefly. Yeah. And I missed that one. It was one of the ones I missed back in the day. I was into Counter-Strike and all that sort of stuff at that time. So I was just like into just like Twitch shooters, you know what I mean? Like, and one of my friends did play it, so I've watched a lot of it being played, and I couldn't stand the bloom effect. Anyway, I'm waffling, but I played it yesterday, and it reminded me of this because that is like I just went wandering. It's lovely. It's like I recommend it. Fiona, if you you played Skyrim.
I've never played Skyrim. My partner, I know. Revoke the geek card. Like, absolutely. My partner loves Skyrim. He was always one with the mods, all that sort of thing, and I just couldn't get into it. I don't know what it was. I think I've told you, I have a big aversion to games that are like, see this thing, pour 300 hours into it, and I go, no, I only want a 20-hour thing. So I flip from game to game.
It's a little bit smaller. It's quite a bit smaller, but the realm, it's just beautiful. I just like, once you get out of the horrible tunnels and find rats, you just get out into this wilderness, and it's loads of ruins and stuff like that. And it just made me think of this, because this is what it's like. The city was destroyed in the War of Independence for Mulhorand, which is the area to the south east, and it just says, like, the city was never built. The ruins remain shunned to this day. The crumbling region is ruined by the living spells, brigands, wizard ghosts, and all matter of foul monsters. And I just love that. I just think it's really like my kind of thing. It's very much what I'm making right now.
Yeah, my question is, and again, I know I could have looked this up and awesome, but what is a living spell? Is that something that could be like you can interpret whatever that means? So that you could take like,
there are things like that in D&D. There's something in Waterdeep in the area called the White Ox Square, I think it's called, in Waterdeep, where a wizards had a massive fight and left so much spell magic about, because one of them died, I think, in the process, that in the center of the square, random magical effects just happen every so often.
Okay.
And I think it's obviously a similar thing to that. Like, it's where there's been great. It's like, there must be some rules in the older books. I haven't seen any of the new ones, but it's kind of like there is something in that you can roll for the ones that, like, the effects that can occur in this White Ox Square or White Bull. I can't remember the name off the top exactly, but yeah. And so it would be like suddenly like 2d6 lightning bolts just come randomly hit people and stuff like that. And it's because such great amounts of magic have just like been infused in the land. Yeah, because of like the destruction sort of thing.
Especially because we, in our last episode when we talked about Thay, that we briefly touched on the spell plague and how magic was so unpredictable. So that's why I'm like going, are these like more like sentient spells? So like sort of, again, it's where I can't think of any off the top of my head, but like having like a firebolt whizzing around, but it's sort of intelligent. So it's sort of like, you know what I mean? Like that's what I was wondering. Again, a long time ago, I played in a one shot where I was some sort of mimic creature, but I was actually an embodiment of a living spell. But I can't remember which spell it was. But it was really fun because I obviously had no bloody clue. I was like, oh, I'm a mimic. Ha 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 ha.
Love it. That's great. I like that. They have them in Warhammer. They're called like endless spells in Warhammer, and it's like you plant your spell and then it just stays there, and it's like a manifestation of some sort of like, so like you can have a massive portal that looks like for the death people, they have like a huge skeleton that opens its chest and it's a door to death, you know. Like that's, you know, it's that kind of
very
thing.
Cool. Again, just from you saying that, again, one of the games that Rook and Dakar coming out, I think this year, maybe next year, the Hollows game, which is that very Dead Souls about like you have to go to a place and purge it of this horrible evilness that's happened here. So again, maybe you go to Del Humid to rid something and gain something from it. Because I like the idea. Yeah, because as you said, it's living spells, brigands. We love the word brigands ever since you introduced me to that. Brigands, and also then wizard ghosts in like inverted sort of commas. Like inverted commas. And I thought, what a great thing about what is wizards ghosts. And it gives those words just give me so much to play with. And again, this idea, it reminded me a lot of Ciri when we talked about Eberron. This idea of like, everything is disappearing. Everything is sort of like destroyed after the war. But there's definitely something magical here. It doesn't go into too much detail of it compared to Ciri, because obviously Ciri was completely destroyed by some unknown magical effect. Whereas here, it sort of said, it's from this war that they had with the Mulhoran. So yeah, I thought it was really cool. And again, maybe that sort of tagline of the spirit of it instantly makes me think, yes, there's definitely more ghosts here. There's definitely more, like you said, horrors here, that sort of wandering monsters effect. For sure.
And I like that they sort of like to build on that myth is the idea that says that Szass Tam, and it whispers that the Lich vents his frustrations on those denizens and even uses the ruins as cover for more nefarious projects and experiments. So this sort of like howling wails that are already happening there, you're not sure if it's the wizard ghosts in inverted commas or if it's Szass Tam like building an army of undead or something 100%. Like that.
Again, reminds me of which dragon house is it? The dragon mart house is the one that possibly is responsible for the stuff in Ciri, because they're using it as a cover to again do their own experiments. So again, similar but not the same.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think you can, giving you that freedom to make up whatever you want, but making it this sort of place that you can go to as a like, all right, yeah, it's already just, I don't know, those kind of places, and I'm sort of, crafting similar ones, is the fact of like, you make something kind of creepy and kooky and sort of like and within it, the GM is very free to build whatever story they want, but it already gives you that vibe that you're already there with. And it's like perfect for like, well, this is a weird, creepy place that might have really cool shit in it. Do you know what I mean? So
for sure. I feel like that, because obviously a lot of it is used for agricultural stuff. So they're growing, rice, wheat, and corn. So I'm thinking of like Children of the Corn. You're going through and there's something in the corn, and it's all these horrible living spells that are coming to get you. Really cool.
I mean, in my Blood Omen one, I did one that was a city that was destroyed because wizards tried to do something cool as well. But what it did is I had these things called arcane catastrophe, is that just still hazards, arcane hazards. So you could just make a whole bunch of those, which is just spells just go off, or floors disappear, or rooms switch round in places, so that you could have sort of magical effects that like, I think you could just make a little table of those and have like a system of like, I'm rolling a D20 every 20 minutes in the game. And I'll keep rolling it. And if it hits this number, then something happens. And then when something happens, I roll on a table I've made of funded, or like a spell goes off, or one of your party just goes invisible and you just don't know why. Do you know what I mean? Use like a chaos magic table or something like that. Badgers come out of nowhere, and attack.
Badgers? Yeah, absolutely. The Thatchion that rules this, I'm going to get their name completely wrong there. Talthoun, I want to say. And my subtitle for this one is The Lady Who Wishes to Fly. That's what I've got down here. A petite human woman who has long, honeyed curls and a large, kindly brown eyes. She's utterly entangled with Szass Tam. She says she is said to love to fly, and that she often indulges in aerial acrobatics if transformed by Szass Tam into a winged form and given that much freedom. I think this is a wild one, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked her the most, actually.
I think she was the most interesting, because like I could imagine you introduced her to your party and everyone goes, oh, she's really nice, and she goes, but is that sort of thing goes, yes, praise Szass Tam, and you go, no, I see what's happened here.
I've met a couple of people like that recently. Won't say any names, obviously, but like you don't know them, but that I've met had really nice conversations, and then they said something like just wild, and I'm like,
like, no. Oh no,
what? I thought you were nice.
You're like, how could you do this to me? You were so nice.
Ruined it all.
You ruined it. Absolutely.
It's just happened quite a bit recently. I don't know, maybe it's the world, but anyway, yes, it just makes me have that vibe, and I could totally play it, like get on with them, and you're like, this person's really cool. Maybe even say some things that are like, oh yeah, this one's maybe like one of the good guys that we can like help us out here, and then it's just like, Szass Tam, he's ace, and you're like, oh no. Oh no.
Incredible.
Or like you go into the room and like they don't say it, and it's just like pictures of Szass Tam all over the place.
I've told
you a story of a similar thing recently, where I had that an experience of a similar ilk, where I went into a shop And
you did tell me this, yes.
There were images of a certain person displayed all over the walls, and you're just like, oh, okay, right.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I love that idea. That is so the subtleness that it's not what they say, is like in the artwork and stuff. Because it says here, most Thayans believe her infatuation with Szass Tam has poisoned her mind, but she has proven that she's willing to do anything for him and is fanatical in hunting down any treachery towards him. So that's the thing, it's the fanatical thing. So again, it's super lovely and kind, but will not, there's no mercy. If you upset Szass Tam, there'll be hell to pay,
Naughty.
Hate that.
No, but I do like that one. I like the place. I like that. I like the little things that you've got. I was one of the ones I was like, oh, this is somewhere I'd like to go.
I would go here. Yeah, I would go here to do an adventure here for sure compared to some of the others. Absolutely.
Then the next one is wildly the capital. I was so in my mind that I know they've mentioned it before in the book, and I was like, yeah, it's Thaymount though, right? And I was like, no, they've said this like 20 times to you in the book already, that El Tabar is the capital of Thay. Just like, when you go like, what's the capital of Australia? And everyone goes, Sydney. Like, no, it's the random one, Canberra. Or like,
Canberra,
the capital of Morocco is not Marrakesh nor Casablanca. It's Rabat, and it's like, where? And like, you go to Rabat and it's literally just like Brazil is Brasilia. It's these particular cities which are kind of like, but unlike that, this one's actually very much like a vibrant, wealthy location, unlike the other ones, which are just like
random ruins and
made. Yeah, exactly.
In my head, I imagined El Tabar to be Kensington, is what I had in my head, because it is so affluent. It's been rebuilt, expanded. It talked about these towers and domes, and again, it is sprawling and populous, but obviously of very wealthy people. It talks about this idea, it's rife with fountains, and then it says, whose mechanical pumps are increasingly undead or oxen powered. And I'm just going like, I'm sorry? No. Do you see them? Are they underground? What is,
I didn't get about that, right? Yeah. Is it goes, to finish that sentence off though, is it goes, but great care to hide their workings under the streets by keeping them wrapped in illusory magic. And I was like, why don't you just use magic? Like, what? Do you know what I mean? It's just like, you're wizards. Why would you get the undead? You go through the trouble of getting the undead or using an ox and then hide the ox with some illusory magic rather than just being like, magic fountain. Do you know what I mean?
I wonder if that then ties into, because obviously the whole thing is art, and like making the art is something that's beautiful and we want to do it. So maybe it's like, well, we're going to try and make the most beautiful illusionary magic. Everything in here is an illusion rather than, so I think it's maybe, it's very easy for us to make it a fountain just to go, but actually to really, use our magic to animate the dead and then change this. Yeah, absolutely. In my head, it looks a bit like, not like a cuckoo clock, but there's some sort of like European, they'll have like a turntable of like creatures doing stuff, like clocks, outside clocks, and that's why I imagine everything is happy. It's almost like a very Disney-fied it's a small world going around, and then you like, hang on, secret illusion, it's these zombies like pushing like various bits and pieces to
it's a small world after all.
Just like
it's
bits of water, just like
world after all.
Please kill me. Yeah, absolutely.
Kill me now. There's some other fun things I like about it though. There's a cool market there where you can like make shady business can be conducted openly, and many adventurers can be found and hired there. I also like it has the Fell Danthers Gambling Club where you can play with battle boards with miniature armies and intricate rules. Warhammer 40,000, anyone?
What?
I love that. In the middle of your game, you'd be like, we're going to go to the gambling club. And it was like, great, we're going to roll dice. And it's like, so guys, I've got some armies for you. Here's some rules. I'd like you to play some Warhammer, and whoever wins the game. You're like, what? Yeah.
Incredible. It's like Dragon Ante. That's the thing where like you play whatever it is from the Golden Key, the Golden Vault, and then you go, okay, Dragon Ante, and everyone goes, no, yes, we're going to play actual gambling games whilst we're, to decide.
Games inside games.
I'm a big fan of that. You know me. I'm like, okay, we're now going to take a break from the role play, but then we're going to do a different board game. Hooray!
Yes.
I love
exactly.
That.
No, I totally down for that sort of thing. I think it's great, and it's a bit of a nice break every once in a while in a group if you're doing it.
Yeah, it just makes you again. It's a way to be immersive, but also break something and go, oh, now I've got to think of something something else. You see lots of D&D channels, actual players now doing that sort of thing, going, here's a puzzle, but only one of you can do it. And it's like one of those, it's like you get shocked if you move it through the wire, and you're like, so.
I'm going to do operation every time you need to heal someone.
Oh, amazing. See, we need to come up with a list of board games that you should play instead of D&D for those sort of things.
We did it. This is a great one.
The sort of final kind of little bits on this one, the Deep Canal, which is basically the sewage circuit. That sounds great, to be honest with you. Yeah. Again, anything that is, who knows what's going to be in here. The deepest cellars of many city locales. It is said that the corpses of those who ask too many questions or upset nobles may be found here, but only briefly, for aquatic monsters are common here and eternally hungry. Amazing.
Love that line.
Love that.
I highlighted that line. I was like, I like that bit. That was good. Little things as well, like the stone wizard, which is a statue, a bit like I just said, like a wizard that's been felled by a petrification spell and is slowly worn down over the years. And I quite like the idea that maybe someone just tries greater restoration on it and they come back, but they're like half the bits that have worn down are like lost, or something like that. And like they're missing a nose. Like, they look a bit like, exactly. Kill me now, sort of thing. But or they kind of bring them back, and actually maybe they're like a soup, like it's do the whole it's Mordenkainen,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Been gone for hundreds of years, and it's them. And there's also like a nice little, again, another one of these no man's land zones, sort of thing. This sort of truce zone, which is this inn called, which is nearby. I can't remember the name. Is it called the Stone Wizard Inn?
Is it not the Stone Wizard's Inn? Is that not what it is?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Which is yes, exactly, yeah.
Yes.
And so this is where the red wizards can come, who don't want to use magic to battle each other, criminals trade contraband, make payments, forge pacts. So there's another one of these sort of places. And then it also says it has a huge cellar that goes all the way to the Underdark.
As you do. It's like, oh, well, yeah, you check your bookings, go, oh, well, we do have a booth, but it's quite a few levels down. Is that okay? Yeah. And you're like, you see the Myconids.
I mean, it's a common thing, isn't it? Like the yawning portal, for example. But I quite like the idea that maybe that's your way in to Thay. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a good way in.
Way in. Yeah.
You come in through the Underdark. That's the way to like travel through. That's what your connection. You've got like a person that's going to get you from that, like works at the Stone Wizard or something like that. And then you come in through there, through the main city, and that's your sort of entry to it is from Eltabar. Could be quite fun. So I kind of like that.
This particular Archeon Lark Con, I've just got written down as the landlord, but equally, this is just a horrible description. So this person has heavy lidded eyes, cheeks with burst blood vessels, and a crooked nose that's clearly been broken more than once. His excessive dandruff often settles on his expansive paunch after tumbling out of his greasy brown hair and across his shoulders. I hate dandruff. It's the thing that I don't know if it's just the teenage girl in me or anything like that, but I just school, you used to see it all the time. It's one of my big icks.
So really? Was it big? I never really noticed it with it.
I think, again, it's that sort of thing where you have long hair, and of course when you're teenage girls, all the things happen, but I just instantly, I was like, oh yeah, heavy lidded eyes, cheeks, blood with
dandruff got you.
Yeah, dandruff, I was like, gross. No. But that was such but also like not only on the shoulders, but on the paunch, on the actual thing. I'm just like going, it's
vile.
It's absolutely vile.
He's a bit of a make Thay great again, isn't he? That's kind of what it's saying. He's a building magnate that wants to make his country great again. But I don't know who that could be related to. But unlike others that may be like that, he actually does shit. Yes, he actually wants to do things like build roads, irrigation, sanitation, stores of cash works. He sponsors, encourages, and oversees thousands of projects. So, like, ignoring the fact that he's actually a little bit of a make Thay great again and all of that, he actually does good. And I was like, it was kind of wild, wasn't it? Yeah. It was a real I was like, oh, he's like a left turn, even like sort of thing, like just okay, using
his power and its influence to actually like make it a good place to go. So I can imagine everyone going, we'll go to Eltabar, absolutely. And this is the guy that definitely had I simply cannot resist delicious cheeses, and I'm just like I just
I'm like, okay, crumbs are gonna get mixed with the dandruff.
No, you've ruined it. It's like, and there's a place in London which is like a cheese bar, which those like fashionable sushi places which it was all on a conveyor belt. They've now got ones with cheeses that do that, and I'm just like going, that's why you place them. You have the interview, the meet with this person, and then it's just awful. I just like can't be doing this.
Would you
guy.
like some shavings?
No, thank you. Gross.
Talk about. It's not actually. It's not gross. I was going to say it's just because it's called Garros. And I was like, sounds like gross. Is there a link there?
Garros, yeah, Garros.
No, but this is actually the most unlike gross. This is actually the most beautiful part of Thay.
Beautiful place.
This is the wilderness of Thay, and this is always one of the wildest, poorest, but most thinly populated arches of Thay. Garros is a border region. The rest of Thay tends to think of it as barren hills, roaming monsters, and a few dirty backwoods woodcutters and miners. But the truth is, it's the wildest region, and with that, the most verdant and almost completely unspoiled.
Gorgeous. Amazing.
Yeah, and it's kind of got this sort of, very agrarian sort of idea. It also says it's quite a pragmatic place, the inhabitants sharing a distaste for the energetic intrigues and politics that most other Thayans hold dear. And it doesn't let cities and marching undead and lots of slaves and red wizards become numerous and dominant. It's kind of what it wants to stop. So it's always like, let's not let's not hope there's not an invasion, and let's not try and make it too. Let's not promote ourselves too much, because we don't want people to start coming here, because we want to keep it this untouched wilderness.
Yeah, it feels very much like it's the rise against urbanization, and it's like again, I'm thinking Cotswolds, I'm thinking Lake District type thing, because it says what it lacks most is flat areas. So there's bloody hills for everywhere, so it looks incredibly gorgeous, and you just say I can imagine open the windows and go, another day in paradise, and we don't like that changing at all. Keep it as it is what they say.
Yeah.
Even they're pushing back against Thay's plans to garden, which I like that idea. They didn't say, no, we're not even planting new trees or shrubs to make it, yield more berries, more crops, or anything like that, or even to breed more animals to make gain. They're like, no, leave it as is, because it's almost like it's slippery slope. We know as soon as you're going to tinker with it, it's going to go. Yeah, exactly. So I like the idea of having the slogan of everything will stay the same. That's what I imagine this. It looks gorgeous, but nothing ever changes. And what does that mean with, like you said, an invasion happens and maybe we need to change things around? What if they need more timber for something?
Exactly. But even it's not been overrun, and it's got a gorge, the Gorge of Garros, which is famous because in old times gems were plucked out of the exposed rocks on the dagger points of casual passers-by. So many were taken that such activities now only reap rewards after one of the infrequent landslides. I just like this idea, just walking through this gorge, it's just this littered with these gems and jewels just sort of floating about. It's quite amazing. And
sort of another adventure hub for your players to go there if they've been asked to collect some of sort of things. Because, on top of that, you've got some outlaws as well, the Quiet Claws, as I said, to act and discredit and assassinate any Thayan who seems to have decided that they must be eradicated.
Exactly.
I like that. It's like you've decided that you don't belong here. I'd say as well that the Thachion for this, Kren, again, my subtitle for her is The Lawyer. And she's just got a great, this is a great description. It's a disciplined administrator. Kren is consumed by her seething rage. She loves opportunities to let it out in battle, and she coldly shuts down anyone with a dissenting opinion with clipped, well-chosen phrases that would make a bard envious. And what she does, she has a creative interpretation of the facts, but avoids the personal insults. And so whilst you'll deliver this sort of string of accusations towards you, whilst they're not in hindsight, when they're taken at a combined value, you look bad. And I can just imagine that lawyer saying all these things, and you're getting confused, and you're sort of you're on the defensive, and then afterwards you're like, wait a minute, none of that is true.
Yeah.
I just in my head, I just had this fast talker who just nitpicks and just pushes you and pushes you until you say something, and then she goes, well,
Well, my subtitle was Miranda Priestley.
Yes, I love that. Yeah.
Because it's exactly that sort of it believes her own version of the reality in front of her, pushes everyone with an absolute scathing remark that is just brutal, but is also very competent and this hidden rage that's within them, and would backstab you at the last minute, sort of thing.
That's such a good shout, actually. Yeah, that their flaw is that I simply do not respect the intellect of others. I am surrounded by lessers, and such is my burden. That is such a Miranda Priestley thing to think.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Great one, exactly. Really good one there.
For anyone who doesn't know, that's Devil Wears Prada. So but yeah, I was just immediately was that's who it is. And the picture kind of reminds me of that sort of haircut as well. So I was yeah. So we've got the last one, which is Laprandra, which is quite a large population. Actually, I'm not actually taking a look at the populations. Oh yeah, it's huge. Apart from El Tabar, which is 2.7 million, this is in this 1 million.
Yeah, just over 1 million. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is I like this thing. It's the Outlanders. It's what I was saying earlier about the place where they really allow people just to get on with life and be a little less controlled by the governance of Thay. However, in that doesn't mean they're just sort of leaving it to everyone just to get on with exactly what they're doing without keeping an eye on them. So there's
it gives the appearance of it, doesn't it?
Probity Corps
yes, so they're bloody everywhere, these guys. Yeah. For me, it says it's a popular destination for visiting Outlanders. So again, it reminds me of maybe a little bit of what's happening in the US just now. Everyone's, there's lots of travel advice saying do not go to these certain places, and people are like, but yeah, I'll just go for a jolly. That's what it feels like. People are like, oh, I really want to go to La Prendra. It's just the place to go this year. And you're like, really? You're not going to La Prendra? So that's how I see it.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it could all go tits up, but we'll risk it. Because, it's like a lot of places that have been like that in the last 20 years where like you're near war zones, and it's kind of like you will 90% of the time you will be fine. But there's a very small chance that you're in a bad situation. And so like it's got these two cities called Nethentir and Nethjet. Is that right?
So, yeah, Nethentir and Nethjet. I believe so. Yeah, there's lots of cities will have like the same beginning, and then be like, cool, how are we going to end it? You'll find out when your mouth gets around these words.
I really like it though. I think it's got an interesting thing. It's like in recent years, this kind of like nice world building idea. Like the Red Wizards have been ordered to work the weather to make it like a dependable rainfall, keep the land from being parched. But it's also like, I can imagine they've also like made it sunnier and stuff like that. So everyone's just happier, and it kind of feels like they're sort of like lore-wise building on this idea of like they're just trying to keep these people chill as much as possible, giving them as much freedom. And it kind of like, as you were saying, like a holiday destination, it really makes it feel like that as well. Like we're just going to control the weather, make it nice for everyone. It's kind of so strange. It's like it's really
strange,
off from everything else we've been seeing.
I can't. Again, this is me not remembering if this is in this chapter or if I just read it somewhere recently for a different world building thing. There's something about weather I think is really interesting. If people can control the weather, again, it connects to mood, but also like. I think there was somebody who was like, if I control the weather and make it rain in the evenings all the time, it means it's less likely for people to go out to do nefarious deeds. If you're trying to break into a house, something like that, it's pouring with rain, sod it. So I just thought that was an interesting concept. Again, I don't think this is source, but I was reading it recently. I was like, yeah, if you can control the weather, it's always really nice outside. In the day, you don't want to do nefarious deeds or anything like that. Go and enjoy the sun. It's like, we'll do it under the cover of darkness. Oh, it's pouring with rain. You don't want to go and break into these houses.
Like that.
You know what I mean? I just thought that's such an interesting, having a really dependable like rain cycle or like weather cycle. And you're like, oh shit, I can't meet you at 7:30 now. I'm going to be late, so we'll have to go meet in the indoor cafe rather than the outdoor restaurant because it's just going to keep pouring with rain. You know what I mean? Like you just dictate your daily schedule because of the weather, which we do anyway. But if it's so predictable that you could really, I just thought it was just an interesting concept that came from this idea of trying to prevent crimes happening. But again, really I can't remember if it's this book or something else completely. But I was just you reminded me of that.
From this.
Yeah,
but it's a really good idea, unless it's further on. But...
maybe it's further on. But okay, could you imagine if you're like, okay, we've had these, the change is happening. We're hearing all these, we've had the spell plague, things are happening. Sorry, let's just do a month or two of pure rain. Nobody goes out. It's miserable, all that sort of thing. And whilst we don't have floods or anything like that, maybe again we're thinking about that previous like landlord Tharchian who's made it all the infrastructure really great. But it means you can control people's movements and stuff like that. Like it's just, just subtly, right? So I just thought that was, So there you go. That's my weather report for me. It's about control. They're trying to control you with clouds.
Oh, you're going to start talking about chemtrails now.
Over Thay. You're like, what's that in the sky? It's red wizards. I knew it.
To be honest, it would be so nice if it just rained at nighttime and the world got all the water it needed at nighttime, and then in the day it was just sunny. That would be actually pretty awesome. And the sound of rain's lovely to sleep to as well, so I'm quite down with that.
Are you buying into this regime of a constant, like, predictable weather, Hamilton? I don't know.
I'm not going to lie, the amount of times I've sat like staring at the garden and gone, when are we moving to California? 274 days of sun, 274 days of sun. And then I remember the Bill Hicks thing he used to say, which was that he's like, he moved to California. He goes, everyone comes up to me and goes like, "Hey, Bill, don't you love the weather here?" And he goes, "No, I don't." It's like, I'm not a fucking lizard. I need weather. This isn't a climate. This is just sun. It's not weather. I want it to rain sometimes. I'm a human freaking being.
It's true. I don't really think too much about weather in games in general. I know, and we've talked about it a little bit. Like, I've got some weird D6s where you'd roll for a flat, but actually, if you start your, I appreciate this is a little bit away from our topic, but like, if you start your scenario, we're like, okay, what is the general sort of climate around these areas? Then you can go into environment and then into the scenario rather than scenario other way around, So yeah. All right, sorry, that was a completely like separate thought I had as you were just talking about the weather. So, and also a very British thing as well. Yeah, Lapindra, it's interesting because it's like this is our way of sort of judging people coming in because they've got that long road that sort of comes in. Yes. And it's like the longest time people can come in thinking that they're not observed by spies and sort of Thay's forces. I think it's really interesting that they're like, oh yeah, of course you could come in. And again, there are countries in the world right now where they're allowing certain things to happen, but it's that because it's their way of gathering intelligence, especially if Szass Tam isn't letting like the Thatchians go beyond the borders of Thay, that they have to stay within the grounds, as it were. So I like the idea that this is a really interesting way. Like, again, this is maybe where you enter Lapindra, or where you're heading towards either way. And it's like, it's really weird. We've not met any horrible people. We're getting a different view of it. And it's because, again, that sort of thing where you are being spied on constantly. Everyone that you meet on that road, or everyone that they are reporting every movement back to the higher ups. And it's quite, again, once you have that in your head, there's that subtle sort of like unnerving feeling. I just think it'd be, again, an interesting one to explore, lines and veils, all that sort of thing. So yeah, I just thought it was interesting from that point of view, and very different to the other 4 that we looked at for this particular episode.
It kind of reminded me of, we've been from Breland a couple of times, the whole like the sort of Cold War Gestapo style, like the Stasi style like keeping tabs on everyone, which is quite unnerving, but at the same time, there's musical theatre.
I know. I was just about to say, I love that idea that the Nethantir place has a thriving cluster of rival live theatres. I'm like, oh, it's Edinburgh. Oh, it's London. It's that sort of thing of like, I just imagine. Again, could you imagine like, oh, we need to get an autograph from some actor, and then you accidentally get the wrong person, and it's all I was like, oh, what? Just that sentence. You're like, there's so much I could do with it,
I'm just imagining West Side Story.
With actual theatre people.
Yeah, with theatre people actually doing the West Side Story.
That's so good.
So that's Nethantir, and then Nethjet is innovation and mechanization. So that's got like jigs to assist with repeatable tasks. But at the same time, it's like it is also a place of workers, cabals, silent disappearances where unwanted individuals get strangled or drowned and then rendered down into locally produced preserved food for export and quiet local mercantile feuds. But okay.
Wow. You have like the sort of, the live theatre aspect of one city, then to go to the other city, which is all about, workers.
Soylent Green.
Yeah, Soylent Green. And like, we're doing this for the people, but then like, you're the main course, that kind of vibe, right? If you don't stay in line, horrific. And they're two sort of opposite coins, but I like the fact that they feel so opposite. So when you go to one of those, well, it must be better at the other place, and you go, it's completely different. I don't know if it is,
Depends if you like theatre or not. If you hate theatre, then both are quite terrifying.
Nethandir as well. It's a centre of glass blowing and staining and fine woodwork carving and carpentry. So I can imagine this. All these theatres, they've got beautiful glass stained windows. It has again, I can't remember what the process is or what it's got, like the woodcut, like lino prints, and just having those everywhere would just be really interesting. Like, what would be the art style? Like, what would we be seeing? Would it be a lot of those serpent heads theme that we were sort of talking about briefly before? Is there lots of bits of Szass Tam, again, dictatorial, portraits in stained glass? I just thought, again, like, what do we actually see in terms of, like, Thay's rule? You know what I mean?
So when they said the stained glass now, I just went to Tiffany lamps. That's kind of what I was going
my God, yes, absolutely. So you have these gorgeous lights, which again will have either serpents on, or maybe just a picture of Szass Tam's face, on the things like, yeah. Oh, now I'm like pin-ups of Szass Tam. I'm like, no, get away from that image.
And then you've got the Tharkion, which is the Thace Yamrahar. Which
Yes.
is interesting. I think they've really taken she's got two facets which are both related to like the two cities and made them sort of a part of her. So one is that she is like a far-sighted screamer and a superb actor who delights in using her skills as a wily diplomat. So that's kind of cool. So she's got this acting background, which but also likes to collect magical items and special fondness from items outside of the Swords Coast region. So this is and she's supposedly got like a far off relationship in her heritage. And but she's also like a capable fighter. And the sentence I did love is that with like her looks combined with her short stature, commanding voice, and powerful presence, leave her visitors with few reactions other than powerful. It's kind of a great sentence.
Yeah, I think for me, this idea of the wily diplomat, but you think of any like actor and just portray them it's not Brian Blessed levels, it's not like that, but you just think of like Jodie Comer, for example. That's one that comes up to my mind, that she could just do any accent. She's just really good, and that sort of persuasiveness. Like I bet if she's taken to giving speeches, the newspapers or the broadsheets are like, oh, 5 stars the next day, that sort of vibe. So I think if you want to pick, if you're trying to think of someone as I want to use someone as a linchpin, as a sort of inspiration, think of any actor that you like, a theatre actor, and maybe watch their performances and then try and incorporate that into that thing. I think that's the first time for a while where I've gone, oh yes, I can look at research of how that is. I mean, as always, the role-playing stuff is quite fun. I have a weakness for the exotic and rare. So again, I'm thinking she needs a rider. She has to have certain Tiffany lamps that are around her for
red M&Ms.
Yeah, it has to be red because it's Thay. Absolutely. Is there any one of these that you would definitely take people to if you were running a game in Thay, Hamilton, would you say?
The one I'd like to take them to is still Humid.
I was going to say,
because that's the one where we've got the ruins, we've got the wizard ghosts, we've got the brigands. We've got Szass Tam mucking about doing experiments in there. I like that a lot, that one.
Yeah, I agree.
I think he likes to fly.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting, what on earth is this place? I think an unusual flavor. People might not, I guess, when you say, oh, it's a ruin, it's again, I spoke about Siri for Eberron, and it's we don't know what's there. Here we have an idea of what is there, and it's even, again, and all these Tharches, they're very simple in their descriptions, but I think they're evocative enough. I think, I do feel like the wealth of Tabar, the wealth of Thay, so El Tabar and also Lapendra, which is the Pulse of Thay, they're fairly similar. That's something where I could put them they are close together, they're next to each other on the map, but you probably put them, I think the change into the, that when you step over one Tharch boundary into the other, I don't think there's too much of a change. So I don't know if I think I would just go to one or the other. I maybe wouldn't put both in my game. They've already arrived at El Tabar, you know what I mean? Or they're on the way in Lapendra and then they're stuck there, you know what I mean? I think just because they're interesting, but compared to the other ones, the Docks of Thay, again, if you're sneaking in, if you're sneaking on a trade boat or something that could be good. Goros, the wilderness of Thay, again, it's an interesting one because then you can get the sense of people here don't want to, they're sort of we like life as it is. It's that sort of thing with Goros, I think, thinking back on it, is these people, they are so aware of how bad things are in Thay. It's dreadful, but they're no, well, we're not changing, but they're not doing anything to stop it, and they're not calling for help. So I think it's that sort of thing where you go, wait, you're letting this happen? And said, well, no, we're not doing anything. And that's what our
sort of
point of view. Yeah, exactly. Which I think would be a quite interesting one to explore.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would try and do is if I wanted to do Nethjet, like I was doing the way in was that way, would be that I would try and just make it more liberal. Do you know what I mean? I'd make it feel so much more like people not being so Szass Tam-y and sort of being just actually secretly, whisperingly to each other or openly even just saying things against Red Wizards. And I'd either play it, if you were going between the two, of either bringing them into El Tabar and have some sort of moment where someone says something very minor, and then you see someone they get completely taken out or something like that, or you see someone being put to
like put in the stocks because they've said something, and then have them in Eltabar for a while, feeling this like oppression of Szass Tam and this sense that you have to, everyone's being so formal and everyone talks to you very carefully and is choosing their words, and then get to Nethjet or Nethantir, and then everyone's just relaxed and make that, and then kind of making them feel more relaxed, but then bring in the idea that someone's watching you. Or like the next day, someone who wasn't there when you were talking goes, "Oh, I heard you were saying something about Szass Tam yesterday," or saying, "Oh, I heard you saying about this shipment coming in." I was like, like, how do you know about that? Well, everyone knows everything here, sort of thing. And then you realize that it's kind of like, I've been led into this false sense of calmness because everyone else is so chill, but that's actually really interesting. There's spies everywhere, sort of thing.
Yeah, well, now you think about it, I'm like, do we have reviewers at live performances who are actually just writing down what they overheard? And it's that sort of like overheard on the underground kind of thing. And maybe your name isn't put to it, perhaps, or like your description, it's how it's like, woman in dark coat seen at this performance said this, and you're like, so, that's really interesting. Yeah, I like the idea of having the ominous force is just people reporting exactly what you said for everyone to know about. Terrifying.
Yeah, exactly. But everyone sort of says everything, and it's all very like, but they never say anything that maybe like gets them completely into trouble. And they all know they're skirting that line, but this town can get away with it. But everyone's still listening. And if you ever go out, and maybe if you go out of line, then the charges come down against you from all the way back. Do you know what I mean? So they've always got that piece of paper ready and waiting. They just use it when they need it.
Yeah. Oh, horrible. Yeah, telling on your neighbours, that sort of...
Yeah, really awful.
Well, that's our first part. Visiting Thay. What a way to end. Awful. But you know what? It's, like I said, it's so different to anything that we've looked at before. Again, a lot of the stuff when we've done our travel book clubs have been quite positive. Like, it's a great place to go. And this feels like, would we go here? But yeah, we'll be back next time with the final sort of 6 arches that we've got left, which will be very good. As always, Hamilton, where can we find you on the internet? What are you up to? All the fun things,
All the fun things. Well, you can find me now always at Theatre Macabre, Theatre-Macabre, Theatre_Macabre. If you search it wherever you're looking, you'll find it, even on YouTube and everything. I've actually started another video. I'm actually going to get back into some YouTubing. So I'm doing a whole piece on looking at Forbidden Psalm, and in particular, looking at their 28 Psalms, which is so Forbidden Psalm is a miniatures game based off Morgborg rules. And then they did one called 28 Psalm, which is sort of in collaboration with 28 Mag. I don't know if you know 28 Mag.
Yes.
It's a beautiful, grimdark magazine. It's absolutely stunning. And it's very much like a nod to Warhammer 40k and fantasy. They've even got like a spell effect if you have a spell failure, which is called copyright infringement. And it says what happens if you fail your spell. Your model gets hit with a cease and desist order, must disappear from the game for the entirety of the game.
That's great! Holy shit, that's amazing! I love that.
I love it. They've got some really good. And like another spell failure is, this is a good addition, which is like you get lost in a magazine and can't stop looking. So for the next turn, you don't take a turn and stuff like that. So
that's so great! Yeah, so to know, I love it.
So I'm doing that. I'm going to be building some models for it. And I'm going to just I'm doing a bit more vloggy a little bit, like the way I'm going through it. So I'm doing a bit to camera, then sort of showing how I'm doing it, but not like 100% like this is every piece that I put together, because it's just all a bit of a mess. Like I'm making messy things, and I called it the other day, like I'm scatting or I'm jamming at like, I couldn't think of a better word for it for kit
I like it.
So yeah, but I'm looking at the rules for that. And then there's another one called Endless Horrors from Between the Stars, which is, you then take your warband, and they're a cult who is trying to end the world by summoning a demon. I think I talked about it the other day.
Oh, fun.
So I'm going to do a piece on that as well. So yeah, I'm doing some videos, and Wraithborn's going on. And if you can still buy the Kickstarter. If you join the Kickstarter, if you're a backer to the Kickstarter, you can get a secret area in the Discord where I'm sharing some of the work I'm doing as I'm going. So the first class and the first region have been released, and it's the biggest class. So it's like over 100 pages of stuff is up there at the moment. So,
whoa, incredible.
So if people are interested, they can get on board. And that's about it, really. That's about it. But
nice.
I'm lost. Where am I?
Very good, very good. Nice and short as always. No, it's all good. Where is a twice monthly tabletop RPG one-shot podcast hosted by me. We do lots of different RPG systems and interviews with game designers. And although it's been a couple of weeks off, I am going to get back to Too Long Didn't Read, because Hamilton has very kindly given me permission to go through the Wild Magic system for Wraithborn, and I've got some of the other playtest documents, so that will be up as well. And I'll make sure to obviously shout out on the social medias. I think by the time this is out, I'll have already done it. But yeah, we're getting back into doing a bits and pieces. But yeah, and as always, I'm one third of the RP Geeks, which is a nerdy TTRPG show where we do lots of different RPG systems, but also nerdy facts. Time of recording, we're just getting ready for our Kids on Bikes series coming up. I got asked, basically we're doing, it's think Oliver, but the children that we're playing have superpowers. So you got, Enola Holmes, you got your sort of like, we've got stuff. And obviously everyone's like trying to think of really fun superpowers of like, well, I can discern where this object's come from. I can see its past and future. Well, I can twist metal from a distance. And I went, I would like to talk to pigeons. And so that is just my whole vibe. I'm a small child that talks to pigeons. So yeah, and then this morning I got asked, do you have any character reference? And I was like, here is Mara Wilson from Matilda. Done. Like, I'm just trying to keep it as simple as possible. But yes, if you want to come with that, come watch the RP Geeks D&D all over the internet, and we'll be streaming live streams on YouTube Tuesdays from 7 p.m. BST. So there you go. Awesome. That's us all done. Good job. Let's go us. Let's go us. All right. Well, let's go back into Thay next time. And thank you guys so much for listening. And we will see you on the flip side.